Bentornati. This is gonna be the first session in Italian. Abbiamo cominciato questa mattina parlando cinese, poi ci siamo mossi in Giappone, abbiamo fatto una sessione in giapponese, questa sera in Latino America parleremo portoghese, in Africa abbiamo parlato francese, non volevamo mancare con un appuntamento vero con l'Italia. E sono molto contenta che oggi celebriamo questa 50ª giornata della Terra assieme a due cari amici con i quali in realtà io ho imparato a conoscere la Terra e che ancora oggi mi portano ad avere un contatto vero con la Terra. Vorrei cominciare questa nostra conversazione presentando questi due amici ospiti, sono Maurizio Martina e Beppe Savino, con i quali abbiamo cominciato un percorso che è nato con Expo, che aveva un titolo bellissimo, che ci ha ispirato anche nell'organizzare questa giornata. Questa giornata si chiama Food for Earth, cibo per la terra, ed è stata organizzata dal nostro Future Food Institute assieme alla FAO. Bene, quando ci siamo conosciuti ad Expo parlavamo di feeding the planet, nutrire il pianeta. E da lì con Maurizio diciamo abbiamo cominciato questa strada che poi dopo ci ha portato a parlare dalla terra all'Italia, un manifesto delle 3A, un'agricoltura che sempre di più ci ha portato a conoscere in realtà come WhatsApp e tutto il mondo che abbiamo potuto toccare con le iniziative veramente vicine a quello che è il tessuto meraviglioso del nostro paese, dell'agricoltura del nostro paese. Maurizio, cosa ci portiamo nel nuovo mondo dall'esperienza che abbiamo fatto? Cosa abbiamo imparato? Cosa dobbiamo implementare? Oggi è una giornata importantissima.
Ma intanto un caro saluto a tutti, a te Sara, a Giuseppe, a tutti voi. Un grande ringraziamento per questa iniziativa. È importantissimo riuscire a costruire idealmente, progettualmente, un ponte vero, operativo, progettuale tra quello che abbiamo fatto e quello che dobbiamo fare, soprattutto quello che dobbiamo fare, io direi. È passata, ovviamente, passato tanto tempo, francamente 5 anni mi sembrano tantissimi con tutto quello che è accaduto e soprattutto con quello che stiamo vivendo in queste settimane. Io penso che sia fondamentale proprio in questo momento rileggere completamente, con grande spirito critico, con grande libertà, con grande capacità progettuale, tutto il bagaglio di esperienze, di progetti, di idee che noi abbiamo accumulato in questi 5 anni, dall'Expo ad oggi. Penso che anche questa giornata, proprio collocata nel cuore di un'emergenza come quella che stiamo vivendo, non fa altro che rappresentarci concretamente la grande sfida della sostenibilità del nostro modello di sviluppo, sempre di più urgente, sempre di più impellente, anche alla luce di questa emergenza, e di come in particolare proprio attorno al cibo, a come produciamo il nostro cibo e di come lo mettiamo in equilibrio nel rapporto tra uomo e natura, questo sia il tema dei temi. Non esisterà niente oltre se non riusciremo a mettere in equilibrio più di quanto non abbiamo fatto fin qui questo rapporto, il rapporto tra l'uomo e la natura. Se ci pensiamo un secondo, noi stiamo vivendo una pandemia che si è generata probabilmente in un mercato alimentare illegale. E stiamo vivendo una pandemia perché questa vicenda non ha interessato solo, tra virgolette, uno Stato, un luogo, una città, ma ha attraversato con una rapidità formidabile, la rapidità dei tempi della globalizzazione, l'intero pianeta. Allora, provare a ragionare tutti insieme di come usciamo da questa emergenza con un di più di consapevolezza che però deve farsi operativa, deve essere responsabilità e azione, non solo teoria e pensiero, costruire una teoria, un pensiero nuovo per azioni concrete che riescano a tradurre in fatti questo tema. E allora di qui secondo me, noi dobbiamo lavorare come state facendo bene voi tutti i giorni, più di me, nelle esperienze che raccontate e di cui siete portatori, lavorare davvero a un nuovo modello agricolo, a un nuovo modello alimentare, a una nuova responsabilità non solo dei produttori, ma dei cittadini, a una maggiore consapevolezza di tutti nella ridistribuzione del valore dentro le filiere agricole e agroalimentari, nella responsabilità di chi consuma queste produzioni e si deve fare carico di una quota di responsabilità, perché non basta solo fruire di queste produzioni, ma bisogna anche rendersi conto da dove arrivano, come vengono prodotte, qual è il loro rapporto tra ciò che soddisfa noi e la natura che ci circonda. E dentro questa sfida, secondo me, si ripropone anche per l'Italia, ho finito, l'urgenza di provare a lavorare ancora con l'ambizione che un po' abbiamo respirato in Expo sul modello agricolo e agroalimentare italiano. Noi stiamo vivendo una fase molto particolare perché sta cambiando tutto anche per noi. Io continuo a riflettere, ad esempio, su come cambierà anche nelle prossime settimane, nei prossimi mesi, il rapporto tra il cittadino e l'acquisto anche di prodotti alimentari per sfamarsi. Pensate anche solo a come è cambiato in questa emergenza come dire, il binomio spazio-temporale. Probabilmente noi andremo ad acquistare nei negozi con una rapidità che non abbiamo mai vissuto se non in questa emergenza. Aumenterà l'acquisto digitale, quindi l'e-commerce. Stanno già cambiando i consumi. Sappiamo tutti che probabilmente noi vivremo una fase critica dei prodotti freschi e invece aumenteranno i prodotti conservati. Ecco, tutto questo come chiama in causa la riscrittura anche di un modello agricolo, agroalimentare nel nostro paese, che salvaguardi le peculiarità straordinarie, la nostra forza, no? Quel rapporto intrinseco tra ciò che produciamo, dove produciamo e il rapporto che riusciamo a sprigionare, peculiare, particolare, del nostro modo di produrre. Come cambierà tutto questo alla luce di queste trasformazioni? Secondo me questo è un campo di esplorazione operativa straordinario. Ci sono
è una
lati
grande domanda questa, è una
assolutamente,
grande
ho
domanda per
finito.
tutti noi.
Ci sono lati critici che dobbiamo vedere, dobbiamo sapere, perché tutti noi, penso che Savino lo sappia meglio di noi, Beppe, quanto è critica la situazione, in particolare nelle campagne, in questo momento, però noi dobbiamo riuscire anche a vedere con la forza di un pensiero anche le opportunità che si possono generare. E secondo me tutto quello che adesso ci aiuta a sprigionare pensiero operativo su questo è ossigeno allo stato puro e penso che anche una giornata come questa la dobbiamo sfruttare proprio per mettere a fuoco i fondamentali di questa nuova via. Io non amo parlare di ripartenza, di ricostruzione, perché penso davvero che dobbiamo assumere questo passaggio davvero come se fosse una pagina nuova e quindi mi sembra più congeniale parlare di nuovo inizio, perché noi dobbiamo avere proprio anche il respiro, l'ambizione di chi sa che ci sono tornanti della storia dove il tema del nuovo inizio è fondamentale per capire dove vuoi andare.
Grazie, mi piaceva partire comunque da Expo, che è stato per l'Italia sicuramente un acceleratore anche per accedere ai
Sì.
settori, proprio sui temi di cui parliamo in una giornata come oggi, quindi mi fa molto piacere che tu abbia accolto il nostro invito perché appunto Expo è stato un punto di partenza per tanti. Grazie Maurizio.
Grazie a voi.
Continuiamo a parlare di agricoltura e cogliamo il tuo stimolo e adesso vorrei dar la parola a Beppe. Con Beppe Savino e WhatsApp e Ruritage, che abbiamo avuto ospite proprio nella sessione di prima in Olanda. Abbiamo dato vita la settimana 2 settimane fa ormai alla campagna su Change.org Adotta un contadino. E Beppe è stata una delle prime persone che ho sentito quando è cominciata questa pandemia, che mi ha detto: Sara, tu non ti devi preoccupare perché nulla viene per togliere, tutto viene per moltiplicare, dobbiamo solo capire come fare in questa situazione a moltiplicare il bene in questo caso. E quindi da lì siamo partiti e mi farebbe piacere parlare di agricoltura italiana e di quello che stiamo affrontando oggi e di che cosa diventerà la campagna Adotta un contadino.
Grazie, ne approfitto per salutare Maurizio, che rivedo sempre con piacere, ed è sempre un'occasione per ricordare le cose fatte insieme e soprattutto la fiducia che l'istituzione ha dato a giovani che dalla terra cercavano di far conoscere e far ascoltare le voci dei contadini. Li chiamo contadini perché è una parola in antitesi ad agricoltori. Qui chi vuole fare la voce grossa si fa chiamare agricoltore, però alla fine è sempre un contadino, cioè lui che si relaziona con la terra. E questo mai come adesso è un momento per riprogrammare tutto, ma appunto, come dicevi tu Maurizio, rifare cose nuove, cioè proprio accelerare quelle cose nuove che non sono mai state fatte per una serie di motivi. Non c'era il tempo, non c'era il modo. Oggi invece possiamo ripensare un sistema e metterlo nelle giuste fila, per dirlo in termini agricoli. Troviamo molti agricoltori che in questo momento hanno interrotto relazioni che erano necessarie per vendere i prodotti. Immaginiamo gli agriturismi, immaginiamo chi vendeva nelle prossimità. E questi agricoltori in questo momento hanno merce invenduta, hanno prodotti che rischiano di andare buttati. E l'idea appunto di Adotta un contadino, quando ci confrontavamo con Sara, era: ma come aiutiamo concretamente questi piccoli che non hanno il tempo di fare un PSR, non hanno un tempo di ragionare sull'e-commerce, non hanno tempo, perché in questo momento quella merce che loro hanno andrebbe buttata. E quindi l'idea è stata quella di hackerare, tra virgolette, un sistema e fare in modo di arrivare a loro direttamente dal basso. Quindi creare una consapevolezza nel cuore degli italiani. Come ti ricordi, lo facemmo la prima volta con te nella petizione sul pomodoro. Noi sappiamo che gli italiani, quando si chiede loro qualcosa che va al cuore, rispondono sempre con grosso impatto. E la consapevolezza è questa, che tanti hanno difficoltà e non hanno il tempo di fare un sito internet e di fare tutto quello che occorre. Quindi con Sara pensavamo come arrivare direttamente a loro. Il primo step lo abbiamo fatto e sta avendo anche un buonissimo riscontro. È quello di dare consapevolezza. Molte persone firmano e ci scrivono dicendo: anch'io adesso ho iniziato a comprare dal contadino vicino, eccetera, eccetera. Ma questo è il primo di altri step che pensiamo possano fare la differenza. Il secondo sarà quello di dire a chi ha merce che non riesce a vendere di fare un mini video dove semplicemente con un foglio che porta al petto, a me piacerebbe dire al cuore, comunica chi è, dove sta e che cosa produce, e un numero di telefono, un sito internet dove poter direttamente comprare da lui. Vorremmo aiutare questi piccoli contadini a fare quello che non sanno fare, una carta di credito, un PayPal, mandare direttamente loro dei cartoni già pronti per la spedizione, con la loro faccia sui cartoni. Nello step successivo vorremmo poi sensibilizzare tutti gli italiani nel dire: guardate, adottare un contadino significa dare la possibilità economica a persone che coltivano la terra di custodire un territorio. E qui si apre uno scenario enorme, perché le aree interne vedono lo spopolarsi. Oggi, se facciamo entrare le famiglie in una consapevolezza che mangiare è un atto agricolo che custodisce i territori, secondo me iniziamo a fare una vera e propria evoluzione. Quindi il mio mangiare, il mio comprare cibo è un atto di custodia, è un atto di mantenimento nei confronti di chi interagisce, come dicevi tu, ha una relazione con la terra. E lì ci apriamo al chilometro vero, che è quello che noi stiamo teorizzando ormai da tempo, e ci apriamo a nuove filiere di relazioni, filiere dove le persone per la prima volta entrano in relazione con chi coltiva, e dalla relazione nasce lo scambio dei prodotti. Quindi c'è uno scenario enorme, secondo me siamo, come dire, nelle condizioni di fare qualcosa di innovativo.
Grazie Beppe, questo davvero è solo il punto di partenza, giusto per rafforzare ulteriormente quello che hai detto. Noi la settimana scorsa abbiamo pubblicato una survey che abbiamo distribuito in Italia e all'estero, dalla quale è emerso proprio che da un lato in questi giorni stiamo noi come consumatori adottando delle buone pratiche, cose che abbiamo sempre saputo. Banalmente il tema degli sprechi, abbiamo sempre sprecato troppo nelle nostre case. In questi giorni ci stiamo rendendo conto di come gestire la nostra giornata, come gestire appunto la nostra spesa, e dal sondaggio emerge che il 90% delle persone sta sprecando quasi niente, quando invece magari i dati fino a qualche mese fa erano totalmente diversi. Così come sta emergendo che le persone vogliono avere accesso al contadino, vogliono avere accesso al nostro prodotto, ci tengono alla nostra agricoltura. Semplicemente il sistema, la filiera, le connessioni che oggi portano il cibo del contadino nelle nostre città, nei nostri mercati, vanno ristrutturate, vanno ristabilite. Quindi sono molto contenta che con questo progetto appunto cominceremo a fare un percorso che deve partire dal basso in questo caso, e incontrarsi anche però con il sistema, con le strutture, con le organizzazioni, perché il 17° degli obiettivi di sviluppo sostenibile penso che sia il più importante, cioè Partnership for the Goals. Abbiamo sempre lavorato in questi anni a silos, magari non proprio noi, ma chi ci circondava era molto focalizzato solo sulla propria area, sulla propria filiera o il proprio prodotto, avere i fondi di finanziamento per la specifica azione, senza sviluppare un pensiero sistemico e capire che le nostre azioni hanno poi un effetto a catena, e quindi senza pensare a generare prosperità, ma semplicemente essendo focalizzati sul proprio orto. Quindi questa è una giornata come oggi, sta dimostrando proprio questo, che bisogna sviluppare sempre di più queste connessioni e questo pensiero. Quindi vi ringrazio moltissimo per essere stati con me in questa giornata e con tutti noi in questa giornata, e soprattutto avere portato la bandiera dell'Italia in questo unico momento in lingua italiana, appunto perché abbiamo cercato di toccare e dare spunti e visibilità a tutte le identità forti che hanno partecipato in questa giornata. Quindi grazie mille.
Grazie a voi, ciao.
Buona giornata.
Ciao, grazie, ciao Sara, ciao Mauri.
Ciao,
continuiamo
ciao.
così. Ciao ciao. E adesso I want to welcome a new guest that is a very important guest for a day like the one that we are approaching today. So Max Falcone is here with us. I'm very glad to welcome you today. I know that for you is a kind of an important day. We are very happy to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Earth Day in this incredible marathon that started this morning very early from China, Japan, India, and then Morocco, Ethiopia, Singapore, Moscow, Saudi Arabia, and more and more and more. You are representing the World Bank, you're representing Earth Day. I really would love you to share with us your inspirational words, because for a day like that, we really would love to get connected with the broader mission of Earth Day.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, for hosting us. yes, as you were saying, this is a very, very, very important day for all us, all the world. Today, now I'm here in Italy, I'm here in Rome. In this moment, I have the president of Health Day Italy too with me. And we had Pope Francis opening this day for us with the message starting from 5 years ago, the encyclical Laudato Si'. But I was now entering a bit late and listening to the former Italian Minister for the Agriculture, and who was there when we had the Expo 2015. And I was really curious in listening to all this old farming culture that we have here in Italy. I'm refocusing on Italy just because I'm in Italy at this moment and because I'm Italian, because restarting from a new way of doing agriculture, of farming, of sustainable farming, of intelligent or smart farming is the next step, especially in these particular days. I would like, starting from there, to add another important message that we are trying to bring, to make our mission, the young generation, the next generations, because the Health Day was born 50 years ago from a teacher, from some teachers who were going to school. It was at the end of the 60s, 69, 68, a particular period of our history, when Woodstock was there, when several new revolutions were starting, cultural revolutions. And these teachers were going around in American schools, and they were starting to tell to their students, please consider that apart from take into consideration your laws, they were studying, they were teaching civic and civil subjects regarding how to behave in the society and so on. Apart from taking care of the other persons, you have to take care of the environment. It was the start of environmentalism, and these students were going back home with some photocopies of some A4 pages that these teachers were distributing them, and they were becoming the first social networks. So they were going back to their houses, and they were starting to tell to their parents, hey, please, they were teaching me that maybe polluting the planet Earth is not a good thing. Okay, I'm exaggerating, of course, it was not like that, it was a bit more complex. However, imagine your children starting to tell you, hey, mama, hey, papa, you cannot do like that. You have to start to take into consideration that when you use too much water, for instance, that's a damage and that's a problem for other people in the planet, in the future for us. These parents, in order to avoid to fight with their children, and because it was an ethical message, became conscious. And after 2-3 years, in 1970, on the 22nd of April, this day, 20 million people, until now the biggest civil movement on planet Earth, in one day, 20 million people were marching, asking for a new protection of the environment. And the Environmental Protection Agency was starting in Italy, so start from there, and several ministries for the environment were following that particular movement. So after 50 years, we are still here speaking. That's the problem. That's why we have to act. We are, of course, now in a digital moment because of the COVID, and because of this COVID that should, maybe, we hope, bring a new inspiration, inspire us again. But while we are speaking, unfortunately, this COVID is determining other distractions in other parts of the world, in the majority world, what we were calling before the developing world, because people without access to food are destroying, are opening fires in the forests to cultivate these forests, and they are killing animals in order to eat or in order to defend their food from a tiger or from a lion. So we are not really in the new hear all inspirational things. We have to take really now, we must act like Pope Francis was saying today, like all the celebrities that are going around in these 24 hours are saying, from words we must act. I was speaking too much, sorry, Sarah.
No, it was great, was great. And actually you were saying the message that we need to listen. We need to listen. Today, actually, we have been hosting a lot of best practices. So we have been meeting people all around the world that are really into the action side. And this is, say, a positive signal, I would say. Probably we are too many now, and we need to keep spreading the word and supporting the one that can take action and have an impact on community, because we need to change fast. There is no time, and that degree of 105, it's a target that we need to reach, and absolutely it's super important to restart, because actually in the few weeks, I hope we're gonna have a white piece of paper in front of us, and we can really reshape a lot of the structure, the chains, and so on. That because now we have been really seeing a huge reset, at least from the behavioral perspective in some way. And I hope we're not going back doing the business as usual, and we're not, let's say, learning something out of this. So really, thank you so much. And I think that it's pretty interesting, the connection between you and our friends from Iceland. That is going to be the next session that is going to be here. And it's not just a random group of people from Iceland, but these people that is going to join us are the partners of the Future Food Institute that last year were hosting the Climate Shapers Bootcamp that we have been organizing together with the Food and Agriculture Organization, and that we hope we can host back soon also this summer. And the place that was hosting us is an amazing place that for us has been really a role model, because the community that is going to talk right after us has been showing how you can implement regenerative business models that are really creating prosperity at a community level, at the larger level. And probably we need to rethink our business model, implementing regenerative business model like they have been doing. So now from Italy, we are virtually flying to the north in Iceland. So I want to welcome and ask to our friends to turn on the video. And so Gunnar, Ingi, Justin, and Arnan, it's beautiful to see your landscape. We have seen the desert today. We have seen incredible spaces, but watching you, it's really amazing. It's like jumping back to the amazing experience we had together. We've seen our friends in Antarctica that were connected with us in August. So I leave you the stage to you. And thank you for joining us for this incredible marathon for Earth Day.
Thank you, Sarah, for a warm welcome and a warm introduction. Here from Iceland, everything is great. We are stuck in our houses. We are happy there. We get to be around our family and friends, even if we only do it virtually like now. So I would like to introduce the wonderful men with me, Ingibjörn Sigurðsson, who's an investment manager for the Innovation Fund of Iceland, Justin Brown, the lead ecologist of Eldey Aqua, a seaweed farming company here in Bolungarvík, and Arnar Sigurðsson, who has been working with the Blue Bank in Þingeyri and been a partner in several interesting projects. I am realizing that this is probably as close as I will come to ever being on the Eurovision Song Contest and presenting there. So I am happy, and I give the presenters before me 12 points, of course. We are session number 15. We are coming from Iceland, and I have a small presentation which shows how things are evolving in our part of the country. So we are trying to get as close as we can to true sustainability. So I would like to share my screen if possible. So now. Zooming back. Sorry about this. Okay. Iceland in 2020 has been interesting. We've had one of the harshest winters ever, at least in my lifetime. So avalanches, we have had other catastrophes, floods in some towns, like Suðureyri, our neighboring town, had an avalanche pushing a tsunami of ocean water over the town and destroying some houses. But communal resiliency is strong here, and it is a part of our nature. Just a small brief overview over how COVID has been affecting the country. We have tested 43,000, close to 44,000 people, thereof 778 have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Thereof we have lost 10, which is not a great latter. But in this area, the Westfjords, we have a 10 times infection rate because of how close the communities are. So we have an infection rate of 5%, whereas the national average is 0.5. We have had 2 deaths out of the 10 in the country, so the 3% of the diagnosed cases. The Westfjords, for you who have never come to visit us, and I do encourage you to come and visit, we have a population of only 7,000, which is not a great deal. Oops, sorry. We produce mainly fish. That's our biggest export from the small peninsula, and 60% of our produce is derived from the ocean one way or the other. We also rely quite heavily on the tourism industry, and we have had cruise ships coming to our locations for the last 10 years. But more than 60% have actually cancelled their trip to Iceland this year, which is a great setback for the tourism industry in the area, as in all of Iceland. And we produce very little vegetable, and we produce no fruits. 60%, as mentioned before, are derived from the ocean, which brings us to the goal that we are focusing on here, which is Sustainable Development Goal number 14. Here we have quite a lot of extractive marine practices. We have trawling fisheries, and we have all kinds of fisheries. We have a great deal of nutrient eutrophication because of the salmon farming industry. Great possibilities there. And we have an sensationally short fishing season, both by law and by nature. So only now in the end of April, the boats are starting to go out. The smaller boats, I mean, the bigger boats, they go all year. Possible solutions, we are focusing on IMPA options for the Westfjords because of how aquaculture reliant the smaller towns are. We're looking into more value adding through product development. We are trying to focus on unused materials and try to develop value out of them. And further co-ops, companies are tying themselves together, creating value and creating jobs, because that is our only way of getting people to move here at the moment. 5% of the vegetables and fruit and fresh produce that we eat in the Westfjords, we grow ourselves. We are the coldest area in the country, so we cannot grow a lot. So we have very little agriculture, and we don't consume a lot of local produce, unfortunately. And it has actually gone out of our culture here in the Westfjords. Although we were the first ones in the country to grow potatoes, we don't anymore. We don't grow anything, but we are trying to change that. And we have mental health problems because of the long winter. We have difficulties, which is a big problem, because in the whole of Westfjord Peninsula, which is an area of 21,000 square kilometers, we have only one working psychiatrist, which is less than optimal. How are we seeing possibilities in these challenges? We have launched school initiatives. We are teaching our children from a very young age to grow sustainably in both hydroponic systems and in soil. The government is actually introducing a stimulus package, which is extremely helpful for the local communities. And we are seeing the educational shift that comes with the younger generation coming up to power, that we are teaching our children more useful skills. Because we are only 1.95% of the population of the country, although we are 1/5 of the size of the country, we have challenges, infrastructural challenges, like our roads, our very mono industry. Historically, as like mentioned before, 60% comes from the ocean. Financing startups because of mentioned problems has been historically difficult, is getting easier. Community faith in innovation has been not great because we have a great waiting culture. We have historically been fortunate and not that we have had big companies come into the smaller towns, and in a very small community we see the great shift with even one small fish factory. So people often are waiting for the big brother to come and help them, save them, which is quite an Arctic thing, I guess. Possibilities in these challenges, we see the same. The stimulus package is of great help. Fortunately, we have a very progressive university in Ísafjörður, the University of the Westfjords, or UW. And I do believe that we have more possibilities here in the Westfjords than we have people to actually fulfill them. So I often look to this. This is a photo that I took this time of year, last year, when the first eider ducks started laying their eggs. This is something that we wait for quite enthusiastically. The future is bright in the Westfjords. We teach our children sustainable growing. Innovation culture is getting to be a part of the communities. No longer are people seeing the need to wait for the bigger companies. They are having strong beliefs in the smaller initiatives. And we have good cooperation. We look forward to the future. And with that, I would like to encourage those of you watching to take a look into these Westfjord companies that are quite exciting and doing interesting things. Keresis, who are using fish skin caught in the fjords here to develop products that are helping with healing wounds, both in military war zones, unfortunately, and for diabetes, amputations, and so forth. LD Aqua, which Justin is working for, who are pioneering IMTA farming in Iceland. 3X, if you have ever eaten fish from Iceland, most likely machines from 3X have had something to do with the processing. And Arna, our neighbor in Bolungarvík, who decided to be completely lactose-free, so setting a new trend in the market. Quite a wonderful company. So this is my small introduction of our area, and with that, I would like to give the torch over to my good friend Ingi Björn, if he's ready with his presentation. The mute.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks for a great presentation. I'm trying to share my keynote over here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks again, Gunnar, and thanks Sarah for hosting this great event. So I was asked to talk about the Icelandic economy in the time of COVID. So yeah, early on, Iceland was one of the poorest nations on earth, but we still were very relied on imports. As Gunnar told you, we have not been able to grow vegetables or wheat or many of the crops that were needed for every day. So we heavily relied on export. In early days, we sent sheep away, especially to Britain, And later on, we managed to get big boats and started to sell fish abroad or seafood. And we even have the saying, in cod we trust, because we are so very reliant on the income of the seafood. And for the last decades, seafood has been the main export of Iceland. But later years, we have also been using clean energy, mostly for aluminum smelters, and also we got a tourist boom. Now the last tourist has left Iceland, and we don't know when the next tourist will come. Hopefully it will come from Italy, but maybe they need to have like passport or if they are like can't go in without COVID-19. But in Iceland, we have abundance of natural resources like hot water. With the steam, we have been able to host like a geothermal energies in Iceland. As well, we have clean waters. We have abundance of fresh water. It is like something that most nations of Earth don't have. We have still a relatively pure nature, and we have got our blue oceans like they have in the West Coast. And to top it all, because Iceland have been facing like a lot of challenging before, we need to be creative. If we can combine this essence of Iceland, you can talk about, yeah, it means food really. So I'm very happy that we are talking about food on the Earth because most of the foods come from the Earth, and we really need to rethink how we can change the food system for the next generations. And I think COVID could be a turning point as well. So how will Iceland thrive in the post-COVID time? I think we are very fortunate to be in Iceland in this time because we are very good natural isolation. We are still on the top of the world. No one is coming to Iceland without we are knowing it. We have just one airport and the cruise ships have stopped to come. So we know who are in Iceland. And we have been fighting, like Gunnar told, we have been very successful in trying to limit the COVID-19 to spread. And so, yeah, we also have a strong economy. Actually, a very strong economy because we have been saving up. We are relatively debt-free, and we can use the strong economy to turn things around. And we are learning from our last crisis, the economic crisis in Iceland that happened to the world. It was very bad in Iceland, and we're using that learnings to rebuild Iceland again. And we have also the possibility in the time of COVID to rethink everything. And we could even become the most sustainable country on Earth, or at least we could aim for it. So to close things up is, like Sarah told us, we have an empty canvas. It's white, and it's up on us to draw the right pictures. And yeah, so that is my final word, and I don't know if I can. No, this is part of the old. Yeah. See. Yeah. So I'm stopped share screen. So
thank you so much.
Sarah.
So with that, if you have no questions to Ingi, Sarah, I would like to pass the torch over to our good friend Justin Brown, who's standing outside in the cold, which is perhaps the most beautiful location of at least this half an hour. Hey there, Justin. Yes.
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for the introduction, Gunnar. And thank you, Ingibjörn. It's nice seeing you again. And yeah, as Gunnar said, I am outside. This isn't just a virtual background. I'm here at the lighthouse here at Osfjord. And just behind me there is the town of Bolungarvík. Fortunately, here in Iceland, we're not a part of the major lockdowns, as some of you watching may be. So we are able to get outside and enjoy the nice spring weather that we have. And as Gunnar was saying, I'm the biologist and part of Elde Aqua, the first seaweed company or producer here in Iceland. And we are a startup, and we're experiencing a lot of the growing pains associated with that. But we've also had our own successes. So we are harvesting wild spores and growing them in our own facilities, and eventually moving those spores out onto our sea farms. So we noticed that there was not a problem with large-scale aquaculture, but there are things that can be improved upon. First, the general focus in aquaculture in the world is on finfish. And as some of you may know, this causes a cascading effect, because in order to grow these fish up to market weight, you have to feed them either a formulated feed, which is usually based off of some sort of fish meal or fish oil. So you need to fish other fish to feed these fish in aquaculture cages. And as a result of that, you get a cascading effect in the natural environment around you. Now, in addition to that, another problem that's caused by large-scale aquaculture is eutrophication of the seafloor. So we looked at these two things and we decided that we don't want to go in that direction, but instead we want to focus on seaweed as a market, or as a product for the market, but also as a way to clean up the water in our area here in the West Fjords. As you know, like, seaweed pulls nutrients out of the water in order to grow. So working in collaboration with the finfish aquaculture companies around the West Fjords of Iceland, we intend to install our seaweed farms in close proximity to their aquaculture cages in order to pick up some of the nutrients that they're putting into the water. So in this way, we're working in collaboration and trying to make the best situation possible for the future of our fjords here. And to go one step further, we're beginning to do our own research into introducing additional species into our seaweed farms, such as scallops are the next on the plate. So in this way, we're going to be pulling even more nutrients out of the water. Scallops, as a mollusk, are natural filter feeders in our ecosystems and naturally clean the water. But once again, once these scallops reach a market weight, they can be sold as a product as well. And this type of a system, working with the fish, seaweed, and the scallops, creates an integrated multi-trophic aquaculture system. Gunnar elaborated on that a little bit in his introduction. These IMTA systems have a lot of promise and a long way to go. They're being developed and implemented in a lot of places in the world, but they're still quite new. And for us, this is what we envision the future looking like here in our fjords, in the West Fjords, and all around Iceland, hopefully the rest of the world at some point. I think I'm going to leave it there. Gunnar?
Thank you, Justin. Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to pass the torch and give 12 points, of course, to Justin, and pass the torch over to my good friend Arnar, who is sitting by the nicest window in the Westfjords. Are you there, Arnar?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity. What a time we live in. Here I can sit almost by the edge of the world, by the Arctic Circle, and talk to the whole world. This is actually something that we shouldn't take for granted. Such a great privilege to connect again with the Future Food Institute. Gunnar said I have the nicest view in the Westfjords. That might be true. I'm sitting in the Blue Bank, which is a kind of a bank located in a small village in the Westfjords, a traditional fishing village of around 250 people. But it is a little bit of a different kind of a bank from what you might expect. There was actually a traditional real bank here for 100 years. And this view that you see in my back is where the bank manager would watch over the economy of the village and look at the boats going out into the harbor and making a lot of prosperous value for the community by fishing and by farming. And this village that I am located in has seen a lot of transformation with changes in the food systems, which is something that we're very aware of here. Just like many villages, whether it is in Italy or whether it is in Russia or whether it is in Spain or any of the places that we've been visiting today through this wonderful event, many villages have a challenge of adapting to the changes that we see all around us. In this village particularly, there has been a challenge to adapting to the centralization and the mechanization of the production of how fish is caught and produced. So we have seen a lot of people leave and a lot of vitality lost. And the concept of resilience of communities, of adapting to change, is something that we have to think about a lot. How do communities make themselves adaptable to the changes around us? And of course, with these really swift and unexpected changes because of the virus that we're all facing, this question becomes even more pronounced. So in his beginning introduction, Gunnar mentioned a few natural occurrences that we've had this winter. We've had a rough winter weather-wise. So this has a little bit prepared us for adapting to these strange natural occurrences with the virus as well. We're a little bit in the habit of adapting to certain changes here. And I would like to think a little bit about resilience. Resilience in the sense of communities means the possibility or the ability to adapt to changes. And that's exactly what we're all doing. So the Future Food Institute is a very resilient organization because despite these changes, they managed to pull off this wonderful event where we're all talking together across the world. So this is an example of resilience. And we all need to be resilient now. And in September of last year, we had the honor here in Þingeyri and the Blue Bank to host one of the climate schools that were done by the Future Food Institute. And this was a great privilege and honor, and we learned a lot from it. And hopefully we were able to transfer some of the knowledge that we have here. And what was special and what we were proud of and gave this a lot of value to us was that we were the only small and rural place that was hosting such an event. And as a village that's trying to survive in the modern times and trying to adapt to changes, we are asking ourselves, why do villages need to live? Why can't everybody just move to the city? What is this for? Why do we continue to try to sustain traditional ways of life, small places that have a problem or a challenge in competing with the bigger cities? And I think there is something to resilience here. I think that diversity is so important in our ability to adapt to changes. And there is something that is troubling about this development where the cities have become so big and everybody is moving to cities, because in some ways, cities are very diverse places, but in other ways, cities have a tendency to be the same wherever you go in the world. And so whether you are in Madrid or whether you're in New York or whether you're in Oslo, you have a tendency to replicate the same metropolitan culture. And my father is a gardener, and he has explained to me that gardens that have only one type of plants in them, they tend to be less resilient, because one change to the conditions of the garden can kill all the plants at the same time. So you want to have different kinds of plants in your garden because they all have their own way of adapting to changes, and some of them adapt to some changes better than others. And so I think this is the answer to the question, why should remote and rural places still exist in this world? It's because we have a different way of life, a different way of existing, a different way of thriving in the world. And this adds diversity to the human population. And it's that diversity which is maybe gonna get us through, if not the current crisis of the coronavirus, then maybe the next one, which we don't know which is. So these are my thoughts here from the Westfjords about resilience and the challenges in front of us. The message I would like to bring is that we need many types of cultures, we need many types of modes of existing, many types of relationship with nature, and we should be afraid of the monoculture of only the cities. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Gunnar, for hosting this session of our Icelandic family. We really hope to come back soon this summer. Let's cross our finger with our Climate Shapers Bootcamp that we are going to organize together with FAO. So we hope to come back and meet the community that was so generally hosting us last summer, and actually has been an experience that was teaching us so much. And you are really a best practice and example, and we're learning a lot from what you're doing in the Westfjords. Thank you so much for joining this 24-hour marathon. We wanted to have also the voice from Ireland with us. And now we are ready to fly to New York and to approach the western side of the world. Thank you, guys, and let's hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. See
Ciao.
you.
Give a big hug to the Icelandic community.
We will. Adios.